if we're going to really discuss how good Metal Gear Solid is, we have to discuss the boss fights in serious depth. Because, for my money, the Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 all have exceptional boss fights. Some of the best boss fights in gaming history. Really iconic boss fights, really varied boss fights that take quite a simple stealth action system and expand upon it in such intriguing ways that it makes the game better just from having played the boss fights.
So Metal Gear Solid 4's boss fights fail to live up to any other boss fight previous, even though they were trying so hard to be throwbacks to previous games.
So I said previously that, you know, the game is literally telling you they couldn't think of anything else, but not only could they not think of anything else, but they couldn't do it any better either. You have years between Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 4, absolutely years and years and years. You have 2 generations of gaming, and yet the boss fights in Metal Gear Solid 1 are across the board far and away better than any of the fights in this game. And I literally will just not hear any argument to the contrary, because it's just, you are wrong. They are such excellent fights across the board. They're all fantastic. They really use every inch of Metal Gear Solid 1's engine, which, as complex or as simple as you think it might have been, they used it massively, and the fights were really memorable, engaging, intense, difficult, or flat out fun to play because of it. These fights don't feel that way in my mind. The AI is just massively suffering in all the fights.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest issue with all of these fights, is the AI are so incredibly stupid. We showed several fights you could even break. They were that bad.
That's just, in a game of this scale, how big Metal Gear Solid 4 as a release was, and what it was trying to live up to, as well as eclipse, it just falls so badly short.
As well as the perfect 10 scores it got, with broken AI,
like,
never mentioned.
Who was playing this game and thinking, oh my god, that Raging Raven fight is the best experience I've ever had with a video game. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect experience. I'll play this game endlessly. I will never not put this game down. Who was thinking that after that? It was the first time I played it, which is years ago. As a massive fanboy of the games and as a huge gamer, I thought that fight was a disappointment. There and then I thought that. I don't know what these people were thinking. These fights are not good. It's as simple as that. They're either flat out awful or, as far as Snake and Ocelot go, a delightful culmination of the whole series in terms of story. But the gameplay is just nowhere to be seen. They had to build a completely new engine for the fight. The gameplay that's within Metal Gear Solid is never utilised to its full potential at all in these boss fights.
And any positives we have gleaned from these boss fights usually can be broken with some sort of other mechanic that the game gives you, such as the solid eye.
Absolutely. Or the camo.
Yeah, or the camouflage, which is
strangely usable in some of the boss fights.
Yeah, which, it never really is a viable option, but at the same time, in that Vamp fight, it was just ridiculously effective, and that's the one fight where you wouldn't think to use it.
Utterly preposterous that I was even slightly that Vamp even had dialogue or animations for it.
One thing about all the bosses, which we can touch on now, is that they all have massive amounts of HP. They're just big bullet sponges, basically.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, especially if you look at, let's say, the Revolver Ocelot fight from the original Metal Gear Solid, hitting him felt like you'd achieved something just by hitting him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you were just boom, got a shot off through this, fucking wall of C4. It felt like a big deal just to hit the motherfucker.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas, these guys, it's just I'm starting the fight, I'm just going to start shooting at them right from the start. I'm just not even going to look to see what the patterns are. Yeah. You might as well just open up with some gunshots. Yeah. I remember Laughing Octopus being a lot better than it was when I replayed it. I remember it being like a game of cat and mouse, and you're kind of looking at, you're trying to find her, it's kind of stealthy. And it is kind of like that, but what I think it kind of becomes is, it's a bit tedious.
Yeah, it's a bit too much like run and gun kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it's kind of like, well, okay, where is she? I don't know where she is. You're looking for her. You're looking for the bot. You're looking. Is she on the wall? Is she behind you? Is she using just the stealth? And it's kind of fun where it's like, oh, I found her, but then you just can walk up to it and then just absolutely pepper her with bullets, and it's kind of a bit like, okay, now it's just kind of, oh, find the enemy and shoot the hell out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, I think if you look at like a boss like the End, he might just be shooting you and you have no idea where he is.
Yeah.
And like he's completely stealthed and he looks really camouflaged. Like you can be scouring the area for ages with like a sniper rifle or whatever. So that's why I originally approached the End fight. I thought it's a sniper fight. I've got to like keep an eye, like try and look for him, and I just couldn't find him.
It's actually more hard to do that.
Yeah, it is absolutely the hardest approach to take that fight. And you know that was a really well implemented stealth fight.
I think one thing that you really need to understand about this fight is, as we said in our previous video, elements of the gameplay just break the stealth, and it works both ways. Now we have a boss that she's been stealthy, you know. We don't be stealthy. We're not stealthy in this boss fight.
Don't be stealthy. We don't be stealthy, Snake. Orcon is screaming at you over the codec. Snake, we don't be stealthy. Like, what? We don't be. But
But the thing is, if you equip the solid eye while she's hiding,
why wouldn't you?
She gives you these massive clues as to where she is. And it's like, don't you think this would have been a better fight if you just didn't know where she was and you didn't have those clues in the solid eye and she could just attack you?
Yeah, I think
you had to
really
react a bit more quickly.
Absolutely. Like, you could have had it where, and there were loads of stuff that you could have done. Like, first of all, the radar is really obnoxious in this fight because it's just like, boom, there she is. She's over in this room.
It's like, come and find me, and then it just goes, poof,
and it's like,
oh, she's there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's not even a big room. It's not like it's that massive. It's almost like a Crash Bandicoot style boss fight where you literally like, find me now, but jump, boinker, oh, I lost my health, oh, no, catch me again, runs off. And kind of like, and then she'll like fight, she'll do like a really standard attack, which you can easily just like run out of the way of. Like, oh, rolling attack, rolls round, catch me again, boom. And it's like, and it's just easy to hit her every single time. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
It's not particularly difficult, and obviously the amount of damage you can do to her is like set, like you can't just absolutely rape her kind of thing, but like, it's a set amount of damage you can do no matter what gun you're really approaching it with. Yeah. So there's no real tactics in terms of the weapons that you can use, which I always find is a bit of a shame in a fight.
So if we were to squeeze some more positives out of this boss fight, I would say that the shoulder switching mechanic, which I find is really like useful in this game.
Absolutely.
It makes really good use of that in this boss fight because
I would say so.
You have to constantly move around, and you know there's these tight corridors and doorways. And she's kind of sliding throughout these like an octopus.
Yeah.
And in that way, it matches her.
Yeah.
And, you know, she has quite a small hitbox as well. Which
like an octopus. You ever tried shooting one of those things? Bastards, can't hit them with nothing.
So, yeah, it makes this fight a lot more challenging than the other fights, I think, in that way.
Yeah, it is mildly difficult. I think it's probably the most intense fight in that it is so close quarters. Yeah. All the other fights are kind of far range, and I think that kind of
it does. It sucks the excitement out a bit, I think.
Yeah. I like the idea that she can like hide and become things. So she becomes this thing later on, and so parts of the level are implemented into what she can do against you, which I quite like. You think it's just quite an anonymous room, this, but it has actually been specifically designed for the boss fight.
Yeah.
And I do quite like that.
So you said in our Metal Gear Solid 4's terrible gameplay video that
I remember that one.
Perhaps, you know, some of the elements of stealth in this game, like the hiding as a statue, could have been implemented in this fight.
Yeah.
Where you had to hide from her.
That's something they could have done a bit more with, I think.
And turn the tables, basically.
Can I roll through this window? Oh, yes.
I had an idea where...
That was awesome.
Where, like... In the cutscene previous to this, Naomi and Snake are talking in this room.
Yeah.
So if you were to throw away the stupid auto octocamo that we've got here, and have to acquire camos like you did in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh yeah.
Imagine if the octocamo had to acquire camos by actually touching things.
That'd be quite cool.
In the cutscene just beforehand, imagine if Snake fell onto that mannequin thing.
Oh yeah,
and
something
it gave
like
him the camo. So Like no one would tell you this, but if you went into the menu to try and switch your camo, maybe you would realise that you had that camo and you could be that statue.
That's a nice little idea.
Yeah, that would have been something that would have made this fight, a bit more like the other games.
Yeah, but rolling through the windows is so satisfying. I'm having so much fun rolling through all the windows right now. We've had a really mildly entertaining bike chase until then. I can never say a bike chase. I have to say I have to say bike chase every single time. I feel the fight comes in, there's one stage where you're inside and you've got the walls and Raven's blowing down these walls, shooting at them, she's blowing them up. Your cover's disappearing every second. But you can also go outside and then you can engage her and get some shots off. But you're more vulnerable to her attacks while you're out there. That's quite an intriguing premise for a fight, I think.
Well, originally I thought that you would have to alternate. You'd have to come inside, take cover for a bit, but then she'd be blowing up this cover. So gradually,
it'd be really fun, and you'd probably get higher and higher up the tower, looking for more and more cover.
That's exactly what I thought this fight would be.
It'd be epic on those kind of shows.
So as a concept, this fight should have been amazing.
Yeah.
In reality, what I do every time I've played this fight. I've probably played it maybe more than 20 times.
Face. You just shoot her.
Yeah.
You shoot her and shoot her and shoot her.
There's no reason to ever take cover in this fight because
absolutely
you go outside. She has a load of drones flying around, which
seemingly do nothing.
Yeah, they never shoot at you or anything.
It's just to disguise her, which kind of does work at times. You're like, all right, where'd she go? I've lost her. Because they look identical to her. But
again, great concept. But the thing is,
kind of.
If you equip the solid eye. She does these attacks where she goes rage, and that means she's gonna fire some grenades at you.
She's angry now.
And you see on the solid eye her trajectory.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you look at her trajectory and you just move to another side of the building, and you can roll pretty easily away from these grenades.
The problem is that kind of like old style gaming, Castlevania is really, really hard. It's Castlevania. All of them are really, really hard because the character can barely fucking move. Like Simon Belmont, it can just awkwardly walk across and awkwardly whip at things.
Some might say it's clunky as fuck.
Yeah, it's absolutely clunky as hell. But the manoeuvrability of the character makes the game, for better or worse, it makes the game, and I think they're really, really great because of it. Because of how clunky the character can move. The enemies are incredibly dangerous because of it, because they're insanely manoeuvrable. Their manoeuvrability vastly outweighs Simon Belmont. Now, in this game, you are all the enemies in Castlevania. Raging Raven is Simon Belmont. She's a clunky piece of shit that can barely move, and its attacks have limited range. And very good. And you are just whipping little. You're running all over. She can't keep up with you. For fuck's sake, she's flying on a jetpack. She should be able to easily attack Snake. It should be really intense, and you should have to really stay hidden from it. A game should never put you in a position where you are tactically outmatching the boss. Like, you've just got far more capability than she does.
Yeah.
It should have been like explosions, like hitting you, putting you into like stun states and stuff. Like, if we're gonna go to the next gen of gaming, where you should be putting you into like stun states, flash grenades going off that are blinding you, and then she's like coming through. What about a bit where she like grabs you and takes you into the air? Build some kind of staging to the massive level that you've built once again for the fight.
Yeah.
The level is massive.
You don't ever have to go to any other levels. You don't have to go anywhere,
and it's almost like I like a boss fight that gives you multiple ways to do it, but not where one way is so vastly superior to every other fight that the massive area that you're fighting within is completely and utterly wasted by poor AI and really clunky mechanics of the entire fight.
As you'll see on the screen, she's firing a missile at you, or trying to, and you can interrupt that attack by shooting her. So what Aaron is doing here is just shooting her to interrupt that attack, but instead of moving away to try a different tactic, what she'll do, she'll fly up and then fly back down again and attempt the same attack.
Yeah, right.
So essentially, Aaron beat this boss by, you know, exploiting this terrible AI
Yeah, it's
that
an
should
awful AI.
never ever have been possible in a Metal Gear Solid game.
Absolutely not. Like, let's go back as far as Metal Gear Solid 1. There is not an AI you can exploit that badly in a PlayStation 1 game where it makes the fight so easily winnable that you don't even really have to bother trying. Now, that is not even something where the difficulty will even change that. Like, that is something you could easily exploit every single time you play this game.
On any difficulty.
So just pepper the hell out of it. That's awful AI. That's the kind of thing, that's really Mickey Mouse AI that you expect from a really shoddy game. And you have it. We have it here. This game shouldn't have been shoddy, but it is. Of all the fights, I think this is the most depressing, because it was at this point in the game where I realised, oh, you know what? I'm not having that much fun. Like, that was really easy. She didn't have a second stage. I've killed her. She is now dead. She ain't coming back. And it wasn't even a particularly satisfying boss fight.
It was this exact point for me as well, which I thought the exact same thing. I'm actually not enjoying Metal Gear Solid 4 as much as I should have done.
As much as I really should do, which is like, oh, I'm massively enjoying this game. It's the best thing ever. I'm instead like, oh, that was clunky as hell. I'm hoping the next boss is better.
I think when I first played this boss fight, I enjoyed it. I thought the whole idea that she could smell you depending on which way the wind
that's
was
really
going
cool.
Was a good idea. But the thing is about this fight, there's towards the right when you first start out the fight, there's a truck. And basically, you go under the truck, and no one will touch you. And you can just sit there until she walks straight in front of your view, opens a thing, you shoot her. And then she runs off, and you wait till she comes back again.
Honest to God, right? So this was a fight. I must have had, like, when I first fought the end, okay, Metal Gear Solid 3, it took me all night. I was fighting him for ages, because I thought, is this a sniper fight? Have I got to hunt this guy down? What have I got to do in the fight? It came out that I could actually fight him in lots of different ways. There were lots of different ways to find him. The game used all of its elements really intriguingly in the battle with the end, and it was a fantastic boss fight. It took me ages to do it, and I got really frustrated, but what a great fight. This took me ages to do it, and I got really frustrated. And I have no idea what the hell was going on. He's right. I found this truck, and this is like me. I didn't game FAQ this. I didn't Google it. I just thought, right, I'll fight her. Right, how am I going to fight her? And this truck just seemed to be giving me ridiculous cover. I'm like, I'm under this truck. She can't find me at all. So I'd shoot her. She came out from under this truck, and I shot her, and I was like, yeah, have it, bitch. And then she ran off. And I swear to God, I couldn't find her for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
She would have gone.
That does happen.
And I'm just like, where the hell is she? Okay, I'll get downwind. I was trying to lure her out by doing anything I could. I didn't know if there were ways. The idea that she could smell me is a really cool idea. However, the game gives you nothing to kind of create smells or mask them. I don't feel like there's anything there that it's such an awful fight.
There are frogs just randomly dropping in and just walking around. That doesn't make the fight any more interesting. It just makes it frustrating because you have to, if you're going for a no-kill run, you have to trank them, and then more frogs come in, just wake them up again.
Yeah.
So, and you know, you can just kill them obviously, but it's still frustrating having them drop in all the time when you want to focus on the boss fight. I don't know whether this is just me, but it seems to me that the wind is always blowing in that general direction.
Yeah, it doesn't ever seem to really change, and that could have been really interesting.
There's no cover at that end of the map.
Yeah.
So if
truck's
you
just by far the best part.
Yeah, if you go to that end of the map, she's not going to be able to smell you, but she probably is there already. So she'll just see you.
I mean, I don't know whether if you played this and you thought, like, I had a great fight, you could smell me, the wind was changing, or having a great time, or using all kinds of different cover. Maybe you played a different game to me. The fight wasn't very fun. It didn't take really any skill, and it just made for really confused frustration from me because she just wasn't even there for most of it. And that's that is a really bad boss fight in my opinion, where you don't really know what you're doing, but then when you do figure it out, it's easy as hell and makes no sense. That is absolutely the quintessence of a bad boss fight, as far as I'm concerned.
Vamp does have the best boss fight in the game. It has it with Raiden in a cutscene later on. The fight you have, Vamp, is terrible. It's absolutely awful, and it's no fun whatsoever. You shoot at Vamp. The tactic of the fight is to shoot Vamp all the time, and to not get hit by his awfully animated spinning pirouette kick. Which genuinely, I mentioned Crash Bandicoot before. I'm going to mention it one more time. That really is. It just spins at you,
It might like, what is he trying to smash open some boxes, Vamp? What is he playing at? It really is. It's like something out of a Street Fighter. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's one of the worst animations I've ever seen in a game. The only thing that comes close to it, I think, is the...
We'll mention it later.
No, is the Vamp chicken walk, where he's like... He's somehow lost track of you in a fight that should have nothing to do with stealth.
Oh, you mean when he's like crouched down?
Yeah, when he's just like...
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
where are you, Snake?
And he's going...
I'll find you, Snake. I don't know who they got to mocap that right at the death.
It wasn't Motasada Mori, that's for sure.
It wasn't old Mori. We know he was like, hey guys, you need me to... I'm really good at mocapping Vamp. I'm always cosplaying as him, you know, do you need me up there? Mate, I told you once, I'll tell you again. Fuck off, mate. We've got this guy doing mocap of Vamp. Oh, hey, Motasara, yeah. It's just like, it's absolutely... Let me try this one. Spins around. It's like, Jesus Christ. What were they thinking?
You get 99% camo by crouching down.
Yeah, crouching, lying flat in the dark, face camo on, anywhere.
You get 99%.
99%.
And
It's a
Vamp,
1% chance
and
to
Vamp will just walk around. Sometimes he'll even throw knives randomly in the opposite direction.
Why you can even use stealth in the fight is absolutely preposterous. There is not an area in the fight where it would be logical to hide. But because you've got the broken camo, somehow the game gives you the option to hide in this fight where it makes no sense and should not be an option, period. It's like Manhunt, but the worst parts of Manhunt where like you're in the dark and it just makes you completely invisible and they come over. They're literally an inch away from you and the lighting in the game suggests that anyone will be able to see you, but you just can't.
Vanished. Vanished. Over there. Vanished.
Now, let's all remember the excellent Vamp fight from Metal Gear Solid 2 that was just fucking amazingly good. The best fight in the game, well, no, that's it's such a great game. It has lots of great fights. Multiple things that it can, you know, lots of different aspects to it. There's the underwater water thing where it's like super high microbes. So if you fall in this pool, you will die. And it's like, oh fuck, I best not fall in this pool. And you don't really ever fall in the pool, but it's there. He jumps in the pool and you can like shoot a missile into the pool and it'll hurt him. And then he'll fire like a shadow knife at your feet and he can't move anymore.
Yeah.
And like you don't really know how he's doing it or why that happens, but it's not important, it's just part of the fight. And it's a really fun fight. This fight I remember being no fun at all, and I can't even remember it being difficult at all, or it being anything other than a glorified cutscene, not unlike the whole game.
You've got the bleeding in Metal Gear Solid 2, which pretty much makes most of the boss fights a lot more intense.
Absolutely, but I think especially none more so than
Yeah, Vamp definitely none more so than that. Because the thing is, if you're in that bleeding state, you know you've got one more hit and you're gonna die. If you crouch down, you can actually heal yourself a bit and stop the bleeding.
I remember I was playing the fight on hard mode on that fight, and it was very, very intense. And absolutely the bleeding.
Yeah.
I was out of bandages. Don't think get any bandages in the fight, so it's like
No,
you've
there's
used
no
them before.
bandages.
It's like every time Vamp hits you, you're just like, damn it, you know,
Yeah.
you really cannot afford to be hit. Period by him.
Yeah, pretty
It makes the
much.
fight really intense, and he's lobbing knives at you left, right, and centre. Because you know he's going to take serious damage off you, and the bleeding is going to really, really like, halt you in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the higher the difficulty is, the Vamp fight is really, really intense.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not intense even to start with, because of the amount of attacks he has,
Yeah.
the variety of what he's capable of in the fight.
And that just adds to the fact of what you were saying. Every time you hit him,
Yeah.
it feels like an achievement.
feels like a big
because
deal.
Vamp, you know,
Even more so,
he's
yeah.
constantly throwing knives at you. You're not getting enough health. Everything
Absolutely.
like that. You know, just getting one hit on him, you're like, yes.
And you're like, you're
Get
on your
in.
way out, you're just like, right, took him out, like,
Yeah.
move. And it does a lot of damage to him every single time you hit him.
Yeah,
because
it
is
does.
so difficult to him.
It feels more proportionate.
If you're going to do it close range, I feel like there should have been some kind of CQC element to the fight, which they implement really well in the Ocelot fight later on.
Yeah.
So why, if you're not going to do it, if you're going to have that engine, I think for a fight like this, it could have been really nice.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to do like a cutscene kind of thing, maybe do it like the Krauser fight in Resident Evil 4,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is an excellent quick time event fight where he'll come close, quick time event, then he'll blast off, and then you've got to fight him from range.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you have those, and they get progressively harder each time. That'd have been such a simple and easy way to do this fight.
Yeah, but not even that. It's like going back to Metal Gear Solid 2 as well. He had the shadow knife thing, and you
Shoot the lights.
Lots of people probably don't even know this, but you can shoot out the lights. That stops him from doing that attack.
Absolutely.
There's nothing like that in this fight.
Oh, there's no details in the fight whatsoever.
It's like they didn't try to think outside the box at all.
That's incorrect, because this is the only fight in which Metal Gear Solid 4 thinks in any way outside the box. By having like, oh my god, Vamp, I've shot him to death. Die, Vamp, die. It was really easy to kill him, but then he's like, you can't kill me, Snake. And like jumps off and does more of the terrible attacks. He doesn't get any harder at all. It just gets easier, if anything. He's just utterly, nothing changes. Yeah. You just kill him repeatedly and be like, oh, how will I ever figure this one out?
The more you kill him, the quicker his health goes down.
Yeah, exactly. So it just becomes easier to keep doing it. It's like, oh, I need to get him back into that kill state again. Oh, I'll just shoot him once and twice. Oh, he's there. Great. Now I've easily figured this out. Because guess what? Everything in this game is nano machines. So of course Vamp is, as it's already told you. Trick to beating Vamp is you grab him and you have the syringe selected, and Snake will syringe him in the neck. Jesus Christ. This fight is so easy and boring and has no. It's like the only twist in the game is that this is like Psycho Mantis, where it's like, how will I ever beat him? It's in no way difficult to figure out. It's incredibly simple and utterly disappointing. Completely the opposite of what Vamp really should be is everything this fight is. I have no idea who composed this fight. I don't know who thought, right, I have come up with exactly how this fight should play out. I'm a fucking genius.
Just in every way, terrible.
Disappointing, awful, god awful, really, really, really bad is all I can really say about the Vamp fight.
So we've just fought Vamp in a big open space.
Massive, too big.
Yeah, too big in our opinion. And then next we fight these highly mobile Metal Gear Gekkos in probably the most cramped space that has ever been in any boss fight.
Yeah, it's really cramped. Probably less room than the Ocelot fight from Metal Gear Solid 1. I'm pretty sure there's almost at no time when the Gekkos are physically on you.
They do this kick move sometimes,
yeah.
So they'd probably kick you if you got too close.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, they don't ever actually move to attack you.
Yeah.
All they're doing is they're in the room, they're counting down, and once that hits 0, it's game over.
And they're kind of shooting it every now and then, but it's hardly relentless. I feel like the main problem with this fight is that essentially there isn't a tactic that's particularly confusing or difficult. It is just, right, shoot them in the head, shoot them in the face right now. Oh, charge it, shoot them in the face again. I think probably the tactical idea is that you can charge the railgun longer, and I'm sure on normal difficulty, if it's fully charged, it kills them in 1 headshot. Only up to level 2, kills them in 2 headshots, which probably is, relatively. Like, oh, should I charge it? Should I wait longer? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
well, I think there's probably one best way, which is yes, wait longer and shoot them in the face.
Exactly. I don't feel like the Gekkos are threatening enough to warrant not fully charging the railgun.
There's nothing where like one of them's on you and it's proper shooting. You're like, quickly get a shot off, move.
Yeah.
Charge, take cover, get a full one off, boom, or take out the big one or something like that.
Yeah.
There are really, really simple games where, so for example, like House of the Deads and stuff, right, where. Like, you'll have characters coming towards the screen, and you will have to determine which ones are going to hit you first. And they might not be the ones that are most obvious, so you might have to like, all right, that one's kind of charging at me from the pack. I should take him out first. Or you might only learn with experience which ones actually go off first, or that kind of thing. In this, they're all kind of like whatever the newest ones are, all kind of come in at the same time. Yeah. There's only now and then does it throw in like a little Gekko that kind of comes out of nowhere. Which is also a frustrating part of the fight, is that the characters seem to just come from nowhere. Like they're not like...
that one that you're referring to does, because it has like a lesser countdown.
Yeah, exactly.
It has like 15 seconds.
It's something that takes your immediate priority. Like, no matter what you're planning in the fight, this is going to disrupt it. Really, the spacing for this fight should have been the space that was the Vamp fight. Vamp was fought in way too... Vamp is a close quarters character. It's not really a range fight. The fight in Metal Gear Solid 2 is very cramped. He's always above you. It's kind of like you are very close to him at all times, which makes the fight very intense. But you can't always see him, but he's always kind of there. Mm-hmm. In this, you can easily track him. He's just miles away. If this area had been used for the Gekko fight, you could have had him kind of coming in closer to you, all that kind of thing. I just think one of the major problems with it is that the Gekkos just aren't very fun to fight. in my mind, you don't really fight them massively throughout until this bit.
Nah.
There's not a bit where you're ever kind of forced into a fight with them,
Nope.
or it's like a tactical fight where you don't have a huge fuck-off railgun to deal with them. The railgun makes it so you can just easily kill them. Anything that would have been difficult about them previously, or any kind of tactic you might have used to take down them before, is now completely gone.
Yeah, because you've just got this one element that just is way better than every other.
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
Other thing.
Like the sounds of the fight even are awful. They're just like mooing. And it's quite surrealist. It is quite surrealist. It kind of, I like harken it back to like Silent Hill 4 when you're fighting the nurses and you hit them and they kind of burp and like make a really bizarre noise that you wouldn't expect. Like, it just makes the sounds of the fight really annoying. You can't really get into how intense the fight is, or enjoy the cutscene that is playing on half the screen while you're having the fight. Because of how annoying this mooing is, it's just relentless. It's just non-stop.
Yeah, and you can never actually watch the cutscene anyway because you have to focus on the task at hand because they're all counting down to 0.
Absolutely.
And if it gets to 0, then it's game over.
And
so why would you be looking at the other half of the screen?
An enormous problem, as we discussed briefly in the first video with the microwave cutscene, where you had the cutscene going on above it. Very much like Star Wars, in my opinion, the original Star Wars trilogy, where the set piece at the end of the movie becomes more elaborate every film, it escalates. In Metal Gear Solid 2, they handled it really well, I think, by telling Snake's story from Raiden's perspective. Raiden was almost having a less interesting story, but a far better game than Snake was having. But and then the paths kind of combined for a really satisfying double act where you're both in the same fight. It's an awful way to send off Vamp, who has been a massive character throughout the series.
Yeah.
Was a huge part of Metal Gear Solid 2 and should have been a huge part of this game. Instead, he's really put on the back burner and is given such an incredulous send-off that it's a massive insult to the fans as far as I'm concerned. Really, I felt so let down by the whole Vamp appearance in this game. I'd rather him just not have been in it.
This could so easily be solved if they had just like cooldown periods where it's like, okay, there's no more Gekkos coming in. What's
We'll go
Raiden
to
up
this
to?
fight, yeah.
Maybe you could even help out Raiden, like by shooting at Vamp.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
Vamp would maybe dodge and go, ha ha.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like just a little cool quip
An
like
interesting
that.
thing where, how about you don't have it be a cutscene, it's just happening whilst you're fighting.
Exactly.
So you can look over it and help, and as he's suggesting, help out and shoot out, and it's a fight where it's Vamp versus Raiden. Raiden's health's on the screen, as is Vamp's. And then you've got to deal with the Gekkos while that's happening.
If that was any other Metal Gear Solid, it would have been
exactly
like that. It would have.
It really, I strongly believe that any other Metal Gear Solid would have had the foresight to have that be the way it was implemented. Wouldn't that be a far better way to do that fight instead of having an awful half-screen cutscene where you're just watching it happen? It's like, it just feels so shit. It's awful. Why have it? And we can't discuss this fight without talking about the cutscene that's happening obnoxiously on half the screen that's taken up. So it removes the importance of a fight where if loads of robots blow up, you all die, which is a very important situation you are in because you're all going to die. And it just removes the importance of that and makes it completely secondary to a huge fight that's happening between the two major characters of a previous game. It's absurd that they would ever attempt something like that. I cannot believe it's frustrated me because I've actually only just thought of how much better that would be.
Yeah.
If they just had the fight happening simultaneously.
We are even game developers, and we just randomly have stumbled upon a far better way of doing this fight.
You've only got to look at the Volgin fight from Metal Gear Solid 3 when Ocelot is walking the bridge that's above the fight and Volgin's urging him to get involved and shoot you. And yet Ocelot's not really taking part of it, but he is someone to keep your eye on. And it's also someone you can interact with whilst the fight's going on. You can like shoot at him and you can shoot his hat off, I'm pretty confident. And there's all kinds of little fun things you can do with it. And he's just another character that's involved in the fight. You know, you've only got to look at like the original Psycho Mantis fight when Meryl is a separate entity from the actual engagement between you and Psycho Mantis, and yet she's a really important fight. She's something else you need to keep a track of.
And the health is at the top.
And the health's important,
times.
and it's like if it runs out and she dies, then it's just as bad. Similar to maybe you could even look at the EE sniping section or the bits where you're taking the EE through things where
And you
if
can
her
look
health
at
dies-
Snake, check to see what he's up to.
Yeah, because Snake's sniping as well, and he's involved in the fight as well. There were loads of great bits in Metal Gear Solid 2 where Snake and Raiden were simultaneously engaged in in combat, or they were both involved at the same time, and it was really, really satisfying. 'Cause it's Snake, like you wanted to. It's how great was it to see Snake involved in that? Now you're Snake and Raiden's involved in something, and you're watching it on an obnoxious cutscene. It's preposterous that that's the way they decided to do it, and it really hampers this. Admittedly, a fight that could have been stronger in itself anyway, but is definitely put on the back burner due to this cutscene that's happening simultaneously. Whilst the Gekko fight is kind of the more classic Metal Gear Solid, you having to shoot lots of robots, this is almost completely different from any fight we've ever had in a Metal Gear Solid game before.
Yeah.
I think the idea behind this is actually one of the best ideas they had out of all the ridiculous throwback ideas, right? If you're gonna have a game where it references massively the previous Metal Gear Solids and has everything to do with them, it's essentially the culmination and a huge finale of every game that's been.
Yeah.
I think having Solid Snake himself pilot a Metal Gear to fight another Metal Gear is a really, really good idea. I don't think the fight itself's that bad. I actually think it's quite fun.
Yeah.
It's actually quite fun piloting Rex and firing loads of missiles and the Gatling gun. It's relatively tactical. You can kind of get in close to fight Ray, or you can try and keep him at range. Rex is pretty well manoeuvrable, I think. The jet boosts to the side are pretty good. I think the way they kind of design a fight is actually quite interesting. I think it's probably one of the better fights in the game, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
For a game that graphically is at times phenomenal and far and away the best on the PS3, it looks a piece of shit.
Yeah, this
It
section.
absolutely looks shit.
This is the worst looking section in the entire game, I
Yeah,
think.
by an absolute mile.
Probably a time
Oh,
constraint.
massively a time
Yeah,
constraint.
I would say.
It really does feel like it's considerably worse looking than every other part of the section, and it plays into this boss fight, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's in a really grey field.
And Metal Gear Ray is grey as well.
Metal Gear Ray is grey. Rex doesn't look particularly different. Like, they both look quite similar, and I remember them being quite different. Like, Ray had a lot more colouring too. It seemed a lot bluer and like.
Yeah, it did actually. Yeah, you're right.
Like, you think about the fight where you fight the interesting arena that you fight Metal Gear Ray in Metal Gear Solid 2. It's almost completely.
I'm sure they had different logos and colours on it.
Yeah, there were
stuff.
different logos, colours, like partly grey, partly red, partly blue, and all that kind of stuff. Like, Ray just looks a bit crapper in this, I think. It might be because the
Well, it is
setting
the
and lighting.
original Metal Gear Ray.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you would think that Ocelot would have.
The one he
would
stole,
have
we
done.
know. Well, yeah.
Yeah, he stole it, but.
You could have they could have explained Ocelot making it his own.
Yeah, he could
and,
have done something
repainting
to
or
it,
something,
repainted it. And, like, he is meant to be Liquid. I think that is something that Liquid would have done.
Yeah, Liquid's a Liquid's a sociopath. Yeah,
just
of course
after
it is.
this, he does go, and do this weird giggle.
Yeah, I mean, Liquid's a flamboyant Joker-esque character. So yeah, why wouldn't he have redesigned it? It could have just looked a lot better. It could have been pissing it down during this fight, and it would have made it cooler.
That would have been more impressive.
Lightning flashing as it's coming at you as rains or something.
Yeah.
You could have had them soaking wet after the fight. Jake tells me there's kind of a way he does the fight differently to me, so he kind of melees the fuck out of him.
Yeah, the way I do it, and this is on the harder difficulties, I am very aggressive with Ray. Like, I'll get close to him, as close as possible at all times, and try and melee him. And that makes him into the down state so I can do the finishing move.
Yeah, so...
So I try and make it so that he has no chance, basically, to get back and fire at me from a distance. That's my tactic on this fight.
So, whereas I like to engage him in the range fight, as I feel like you can outmaneuver him by turning the corners, and as he comes round, shoot him. So there's multiple ways to go.
I guess that would be a positive of this fight, because
absolutely.
We each play it different ways that both work.
Yeah.
And are both reasonably
definitely
fun.
Now, I think the problem is that, from what I say with the melee, I hate finishing moves in games. I hate them. They're just stupid. Give me an engine, give me attacks, and let me kick the shit out of the enemy. I don't want to watch Rex beat the hell out of Ray. I want to be the guy beating the hell out of Ray by shooting at him and using what I have at my disposal to hit the hell out of him. This is the destroyed Rex
Yeah.
that we blew up.
And Metal Gear Ray, as we learned in the opening of Metal Gear Solid 2,
Yeah.
is an anti-Metal Gear Metal Gear.
He's an anti-Metal Gear Metal Gear, which is a confusing concept, but I suppose the idea is that they're building Metal Gear Rays to counteract the Metal Gear activities of any other countries.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if they build a weapon, Ray can really take down any Metal Gear. He's pretty much specifically designed to do that. Which kind of explains why Raiden, as a lone man with a stinger, could kill like 50 of them. Because he's just like, because he's not built to
because
deal
it's
with
not
this
an
human.
anti-Raiden.
No, it's not an anti-Raiden Metal Gear. It's anti-Metal Gear. So, anyway, Ray should be better than Rex, is kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Ray should be able to kick Rex's ass. And it doesn't feel like that, because especially with the melee, like Rex is just literally beating the fuck out of Ray.
I mean, I don't know why Ray has to go into this downed state anyway, which obviously ties into what you were saying about finishing moves.
Well, yeah.
They just don't work in this
I'll
fight.
tell you what could have been cool is like when you go to use the missile attack. Ray it gives you loads of different like target bits on Ray for you to fire the missiles at. What would have been a nice throwback would have been, what if the strategy was the same as the Metal Gear Solid 2 fight? So where Ray has the knee joints and the face that does lots of damage. Face very difficult to hit and only when he's opening an attack for an attack. But you can hit the knee joint to put him into a position to then hit him with a missile. Or then go over and smack him in the face or something like that. You know, I feel like they could have mixed that up a little bit more, or it's just kind of like the fight's good, but it doesn't make any sense as to why Rex would be so maneuverable, so devastatingly effective against an enemy that he's storyline-wise supposed to be able to take him out.
It feels very clunky to like control Rex compared to other games, which I think they may have taken influence from, like Armored Core, where you're in a mech and you've got these various weapons that shoot out of you. Compared to that, Rex feels very clunky to move and to switch weapons and things like that.
Yeah, I think the weapon switching is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, it's really bad.
In that it's like, well, why if you had access to all the weapons at once, which it wouldn't have been difficult to do at all.
No, you could have used the directional buttons to switch weapons quickly.
Yeah, something like that.
Easy.
It pretty much takes like the clunky aspects of the other Metal Gear Solids and puts them into the worst part of this game to have any clunky elements.
Yeah.
And it does slow the fight down a little bit, which is unfortunate because it kind of takes away from the intensity. The weapon change is always taken away from the intensity.
Yeah,
of a fight. Like,
definitely.
you can check, oh, okay, let me just think, I've got to get to a ration. Let's let it go down there, kind of thing. It kind of always removes you a little bit from it. It would have been nice if you could quickly change and you didn't have like a breather to kind of think, okay, let's talk and focus, get the missiles, then start firing. Kind of, you know, it does take you out of it a little bit. So,
One thing I will say as a counter to that though is that the way Rex moves, it is clunky, but at the same time,
feels real.
It feels like you would expect like a
feels,
Metal Gear Rex
he's
to
not
to
too.
move.
Yeah, he's not like
So
he's proper jumping all over the place like Ray can.
I'm hoping that they made it clunky on purpose in that regard.
Yeah.
But what I'm actually thinking is that they just couldn't work around.
Oh
these
yeah,
controls.
it was definitely meant to have like wheels and drive around. You're probably meant to race Ray,
But they just didn't have time to
But they
add,
just didn't have
add
time to implement the racetrack.
race between Metal Gear Rex and Ray into the game.
I'm pretty sure Patrick Zimmerman recorded lines where he was just like, "Okay, it's time to race me, Snake." Yeah, as far as the boss goes, though, I do actually quite like this fight, and it is pretty epic. And fuck it if it doesn't make sense. It makes for a really fun fight. So, Screaming Mantis. This is a fight where I remember it being absolutely awful. This is the point in the game where I was like, okay, it's chapter 5, I've killed them all. What on earth? They were all crap. Like, I really was like, that's all they have for me. Like, it's not going to get any better. That wasn't, I really was really frustrated with the fight. I thought it was awful. Really hated it. And it's one of those fights I refer to if I'm discussing it with someone who really likes the game. I'm like, that Screaming Mantis fight, you can't have enjoyed that, and we're mental about it.
As I was playing it, I kind of forgot that you needed to use the syringe on yourself and then Meryl.
A bit weird how you can syringe Meryl and like she just can still control her.
Yeah.
You'd think that would end that part of the fight.
So when you use the syringe, there's nothing really like stopping you from using it or any sort of challenge in the way that the enemies like come at you. They don't like come at you in any sort of formation or
They're not
anything.
very tactical like those corpses.
Yeah, they just kind of come straight at you. Even though they are corpses, they're being controlled by Screaming Mantis. So you would think that she would send them at you in some sort of formation.
Yeah.
And that plays into the fact that the arena, I don't find, is very interesting. Like, there's no real reason to use the cover behind those computers that are around.
It's quite big, and there's a lot of cover in the fight. No, it does ruin the atmosphere because it's like a brightly lit, sciencey room. Why can't you have fought her in some kind of creepy, like den kind of thing, like right in the heart, like, you know, you're going through some kind of like leaking, like engine room or something where there's like corpses and all, or some, you know, like it could have been a more intriguing area to fight her in because it's a bit brightly lit fight. Because it is quite a creepy fight, like, you know, like. I think the sounds, you know, contrary to the fight against the Geckos, the sound's really well utilised in this fight. Like, it's all kind of very creepy, lots of screaming, and, you know, Mantis' taunting's quite, it's decent enough.
She also compliments you when you actually do.
If you do something well, Mantis is like, ooh, excellent. If it's not like, but for no real reason, because it's not like she's a character who, like, she's never been like, come on, test. You know, she's not like the boss who'd be like, very, very well done kind of thing. Who has every reason to congratulate her because it's a proper jewel. You're just like, la la la, shooting at things. Like, oh, I'll shoot at dolls. And she's like, oh, excellent. It's just like...
Really, they should have called her Psycho Mantis because she is a psycho.
Oh, yeah, she's mental.
But of course, that name is already taken.
She's absolutely crazy. But the name is taken. I feel, my main problem with Mantis is that at no other point in the game does a throwback feel as hacked on, as utterly in your face, as so blatantly, this is a throwback. Do not consider this character any importance whatsoever. It's purely a throwback. At no other point in the game does it feel that tacked on. Screaming Mantis as a character, it's like she's got dolls of Psycho Mantis and the Sorrow. Okay, those are what the puppets are. Now, that's ridiculous. It's a really blatant, it's obnoxiously kind of like this. Remember those other games? This character's really similar. It's a really obnoxious kind of twist. Sorrow, you could easily not think he was anything like Psycho Mantis. Like, that it wasn't similar at all.
No,
like, apart from it has a twist to win it, yeah. But the fight, and as a character, he's completely different. You can get the Sorrow puppet, and you can shoot at once you've figured everything out and you've tranked Meryl about 5,000 times to stop him killing herself. You finally get a hold of this puppet and you shoot it at her and it does nothing to her. And then we later learn Orcon, just clutching at straw. He's just like, I've not really been paying any attention to this at all, Snake, but I think she might use one puppet for the dead and another for the living. So if you've worked hard to get the Sorrow puppet, it's like, oh shit, I'll best get the Mantis puppet. But if you've just been shooting the Mantis puppet, then you can just win it immediately. Like, you would never have to figure that out. And there is a little bit more to figure out in this fight than there is in any of the other fights. And rightly so, it's the huge Psycho Mantis Sorrow throwback. So it should be the fight where nothing makes sense and everything's crazy. It's all very easy to figure out and it isn't particularly difficult, but it is still somewhat more challenging than any other fight in this game in terms of using your own intelligence.
I really have a problem with the way you just use the doll and it immediately kills her.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's in any way interesting or effective to the boss fight.
It's not, and especially when she starts doing like a close-up attack whenever you get the puppets, when you've locked them out and they kind of start floating away weirdly and like you're running after them. And she starts doing like a close-up thing, getting right close to you. It's pretty creepy. And she should probably do that more often. Her attacks aren't varied really at all. The ghost bombs are really rubbish. They don't really hit you.
They don't do anything?
Yeah, they don't really seem to do much.
You can sometimes see like little ghost things.
Yeah, I think they're grabbing dead bodies. And,
they are grabbing the dead bodies,
yeah.
But...
And obviously you can kill the dead bodies pretty simply. They're not particularly, like, they're not too threatening. So the fight is more like, kind of compare it to like the Scarecrow fights in the Batman games that are almost like more intriguing for a visual perspective and from the story kind of element. But I do feel like the visuals are lacking for that kind of fight. It's quite intriguing and scary at times, but not as much as it really needed to be if you're going to do that kind of fight, where once you've figured it out, it's a one-hit kill. You could have shook her around and then she breaks free of it, gets the doll back, and you've got to do it all over again. That'd have made it somewhat more challenging.
Yeah, a bit more.
Or have it like where she's like throwing a doll and it's like flying around and stuff and makes it more difficult to hit. Or, you know, there's ways they could have gone about it that would have made that more intriguing.
I really think that cover should have been implemented a lot more in this fight. because the dead bodies that she's like resurrecting all the time, and Meryl obviously, they sometimes are shooting at you.
Sometimes they're going like this,
yeah,
swinging like an axe.
they can
at you.
throw knives at you and stuff, yeah, as well. But I think they should have been doing that like constantly.
Yeah,
I think
really
they should
putting
have,
you off.
Yeah, I think they should have always been like this thing where you had to hide behind those computers and crouch round and then take cover and then pop out to shoot the puppets.
Yeah.
However, she doesn't really attack you. The bodies don't really attack you that much, and it just makes it just more. It's like AI again.
Yeah.
It doesn't really challenge you, does the AI?
There's no real punishment for you missing. It's not like you have to kind of pop up and you're not being given much time to shoot at her, so every shot counts. It's kind of like, okay, I've got some time. I'll shoot her, missed, shoot her, missed, shoot her, missed, caught it. You know, you kind of just, you have too much time to kind of do things. She doesn't really protect the puppets particularly, which is kind of a bit of a frustration really, and a missed opportunity to make the fight a bit better really.
Another missed opportunity, I think,
No.
is the fact that I know for a fact that before we recorded this footage, I tranquilized all of the frogs in that room. However, whatever you do, there are always dead bodies, so she can use both puppets.
Yeah.
But I think, again, if this was another Metal Gear Solid game, I think it would have carried through your kills.
The details,
or your
That's kinda
tranquilizer,
cool. Yeah.
like the Sorrow did. If you didn't kill anyone throughout the game, it would be a far quicker journey to the Sorrow along that river.
Like an intelligent Metal Gear Solid way that makes the games and separates them from every other game series, I think, is exactly what Jake's talking about, where the details are so important. In a fight like this, the details are utterly vital, I think. The details in the Psycho Mantis fight are what make it. The details in the Sorrow, it's not a fight necessarily, but that whole experience are what make that really, really memorable. This fight is something I wanted to forget as quickly as possible, mainly for the tact on Mantis and Sorrow references, but also for just how simply it kind of plays out. You know, you are right, like having a mixture of if you'd killed them all, or if she's like, what? Oh, they're all tranquilized or something like that, like no matter, and then boom, use the other one. Or
and then
whatever.
you'd prioritize one puppet over the other because once she loses that puppet, you know, she wouldn't be able to control.
She wouldn't be able to control them all.
Basically, the fight should have been way harder and forced you to prioritize one of the puppets.
Absolutely, because as I was saying, there's no actual reason to shoot the Sorrow puppet out of her hand, other than for Snake to be like, it doesn't work, you can't, this puppet's not working either, Khan. You're an idiot. And then all kinds of like, oh my god, Snake, I haven't been watching. But, you know, it's like, if they'd have made it where, absolutely, like, if every time you shot that one, she got the puppets back, and she got the dead bodies back, so it was like, right, I need to get rid of these dead bodies because they're causing me so much problems. I'm going to get rid of that Sorrow puppet from her, so I have it, and then go after the other one, so you've got a clean shot at her, or it takes more shots to hit her. If they'd have done it like that, it would have been way better, wouldn't it? That's so simple, and like, just such an improvement on the fight, and it should be really how it plays out, but because it's a one-shot kill once you get the Sorrow puppet, you don't really need, once you get the Psycho Mantis puppet rather, you don't even really need to worry about the ghosts by that point, because it's just like ragged her to death. And that's the end of it. There's no need to shoot for that one, there's no tactics involved, and that's, a really, really missed opportunity in the incredibly simplistic style they had for the fight. Like, they'd built the tactics for that fight, and yet then just completely ignore them by it just being a one-shot kill. What a real waste, absolutely. As almost all the bosses are. Just a waste of any ideas that they had. Just we'll ruin them by implementing this.
So the final boss fight of the game,
Final boss fight of the
Liquid
game.
Ocelot. I think it has to be the best boss fight.
Right, far and away it's the best boss fight in Metal Gear Solid 4. Far and away. The system is completely different. It's a new fighting system. It's nothing to do with any of the rest of the game. It's completely different. So if I look at it objectively and I look at it as an isolated boss fight, it's epic. You know, it's every part of Ocelot throughout all the games. It really has been the thorn in his side the whole game. It's severely built into the characters. It's two old men fighting each other, really. They've built it to the point where these two are both fucked. What they're still doing, fighting each other, they know it. A real problem I have with it is how the fuck did he get up there? I haven't got a clue.
That is a weird thing.
He's in the microwave bit and he goes, Anakin! screams it like the best Otacon David Hayter's ever delivered. Screams it, and then the next scene, he's on top of Outer Haven, and he's fighting Liquid. As if they're literally like, how can we get him up there? I don't know. I don't care. That's where we're going to do it. That's where the fight is.
Well,
it's so not
it's
logically
like-
built to it.
They just wanted to have them on top of something because in Metal Gear Solid 1, they
They're
were
on
on top
top
of Rex.
of Rex.
But there's ladders on there.
Well, it makes
in
sense.
the
That's not how we
game,
got up there. It all
in the
falls
ga-
and collapses
yeah,
as well.
But
right?
in the game, you are on top of Rex because you managed to get up there from getting up ladders. So it
Yeah,
does
getting
make,
up ladders
it
is
makes
what-
sense, there are ladders.
no ladders on Outer Haven.
No.
It isn't plausible. Because he was dead, that's why though. Because he was dead just beforehand. Did Octopus get him up there? Did Liquid drag him up there? What happened? Don't know. Don't matter, but you're on top of this. And it's literally one of those moments. Usually I'd be really angry with it, but the rest of the game is so shit that I just literally, I don't even care anymore why he's up there. I'm playing it. I've already decided to start in my mind. I'm like, you know what, this isn't great, but let's see if this boss fight can turn it around. And for a little bit, it did. It is actually a really good boss fight. You can clearly see that they decided not to completely change everything. It's a real genuine throwback to the Liquid versus Snake fight from Metal Gear Solid 1, and they expanded upon the fighting system to have loads of different more parts, like different aspects to it. So it's just a generally more complicated fighting system that makes for a more satisfying boss fight than Snake versus Liquid, where it's just duh, duh, duh.
You can use like the CQC moves, and he has his own CQC
Yeah,
moves, which
that's
are
cool.
really interesting because they change every time.
Yeah.
And your reaction needs to be different every time.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, I would prefer a good shootout. The boss is my favourite fight in the whole series because it is pure Metal Gear Solid, whereas this fight is just kind of coming with its own thing. But it really works as this fight. Really, really like it. And that's all I've really got to say about Liquid versus Snake. It works really well as a final boss fight. They did a really good job with it. Congratulations. You did one good thing. We have beaten all the women bosses. We've discussed how bad the boss fights are. What I haven't discussed is the worst part, for me, of the whole game. I think it's probably one of the worst things that's ever been put into a video game. Ever. I really feel that strongly that this is so bad that why is it, whoever came up with it needs not only firing from his job at Konami or wherever the hell he works now, he needs shooting in his face like a Gekko. Because he's that fucking bad, right? So I beat Laughing Octopus. This is me first playing, my only ever time playing Metal Gear Solid 4. I beat Laughing Octopus. And then she gets up and I'm thinking, oh, excellent, a second form. Nothing better in a game than a boss's second form. Because you know, that great fight I just had, it's about to get even better. It's just, I always love to see a second form of any boss fight in any game. So I'm thinking, Laughing Octopus is getting up. This is excellent. This is going to be epic. And she like shed her robotic armor that made her look ugly. And then she's like a fit woman. And it's like, okay, I'm going to fight her in a fit woman form, what she got up her sleeve kind of thing.
There's no explanation for this, but every time you do this,
It goes into a weird world, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, you hear voices. Snake hears voices in his head. Stuff starts like exploding off the shelves and stuff like that.
That's just a weird, like, fictional, like a hallucination.
Yeah.
So it's as if Snake's kind of, they're either causing an hallucination or something's happening. And then the women kind of go, and kind of walk towards you like a shuffling corpse. I think if they grab you, they hug you, and it takes health off
It just
you.
drains your health.
Drains your health. They like hug you in like a really weird,
Yeah.
like really
That's
poorly animated
That's exactly what happened.
hugging thing that like, and it's really weird. And I'm like, ah, she's hugging me. What the hell's going on? I'll just kind of get away from her. I'll shoot her, and she's dodging, and I'll shoot her again. And it's like I'm thinking, oh, this is really bizarre. This is so weird. Like, what the hell is going on here? This Laughing Octopus woman, she's dangerous. Like, Jesus Christ, I'll shoot her. And then she kind of dodged it, I'll shoot her, and eventually, like, I shot her enough times that eventually she decided that she was gonna die. I watched her playing the game, I'm just like, that is probably the weirdest second form of a boss I've ever fought. And then I fought Raging Raven, and I beat Raging Raven, and then she got up and she was like, rage or something, and then she decided that she was also gonna shed over some. She's now a fit woman, and she's gonna do the same thing. And I'm like, and it was at this moment that I literally was like, shit, what the fuck is going on? Exactly the same again. And I'm like, what the hell? This is really weird now. Like, why the hell did that just happen? The whole world changed again, and it made no sense again. And what the fuck? The whole fight was shit. It was weird. It was awful. And I'm like, okay, then now I'm actually getting a bit pissed off. That was weird. I fight Crying Wolf. Same thing happens again. And it's by this point I'm realising, my God, every time I beat one of these women, I then have to fight them in this weird, surreal version where they're like shuffling around like corpses. And I have to fight them every single time like this. And it's just like, what on earth were they thinking? Like, this is... No, Jake, I've got to keep going.
Okay.
Because this really is the worst thing in gaming history. Who the fuck thought this was a good idea? These second forms shuffle around weirdly. It's like, why are they doing it? Why is it even happening? I don't get it. Why? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. No one seems to even really talk about it afterwards. Like, no one's like, what the hell was that weird shuffling all about? Snake never mentions it. The hallucinations just seem like, did they create them? Doesn't have an explanation.
Snake should have called Otacon on the codec and been like, Otacon, it just happened again.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Otacon, I just had another terrible boss fight. Can you get me into another game, please? Because this is just shit. I'm having no fun. The hell was that? It's just like, there's no other Metal Gear Solid game. We beat characters, and then they get... Imagine if the Fury, the fucking Fury, the boss that he is, the astronaut legend that he is, if he'd have just got up after being like, the Fury, and he does die like that. He's like burns and shit. But imagine if he just got up afterwards and was just like, and he was like a sexy guy, and he's just like, Imagine if that happened. You'd have been like, can I have my money back, please? Because that was a fucking horrific. Honest to God, I've read reviews of this game. I've read lots of things about this game. Why is no one talking about this awful, awful sequence? Like, did it not jar anyone else? Did it not make anyone else think that, my God, maybe Metal Gear Solid 4 is falling off the rails before my very eyes? Because these fights are ridiculous. They make no sense. There is no explanation as to why they're happening. And they're also easy as hell and pointless. Like, what on earth were they thinking? These are just the worst fights ever. Because they follow immediately after already terrible boss fights. But they just make it even worse. They just make it worse. The animations are the same. There's the same animations on every fight. The women don't even move differently. They move exactly the same. Why would that happen? Aren't they different people? Wouldn't they at least move a little bit differently if they're going to do that? No, the animations are identical, and it looks cheap. It looks completely ridiculous. And they can explain everything else with nanomachines. I'd like to hear someone explain what the hell was going on with those women, because I just don't know what they were doing. I have not got a clue. But that's every beast that you fight, a Beauty and the Beast core, every single one of them you fight, you have a weird shuffling corpse version of the woman afterwards that you have to kind of mildly deal with in such boring, repetitive, monotonous fashion that after beating Screaming Mantis, I was practically finished. I was like, fuck the fight with Ocelot. Can't even be arsed. I'm done with this bag of shit. This is just such a crap game by that point. Now I'm just like, fuck it. Can't be arsed mashing triangle to go for his microwave. Fuck it, I'm done. That's how I felt after how bad those fights were. Jake, you got anything to say?